The first thing my father said was, "So this is it? You ruined your life, Jason." "I didn't ruin it," I said. "I'm just tired." "Tired?" Richard laughed. "You lost your scholarship. You dropped out. You're 22 with nothing. That's not tired. That's useless." Mark leaned against the doorway, smiling. "Told you college was too much for him." "Shut up," I said. "Why?" Mark replied. "He's right. You couldn't even last 2 years." "I was working 3 jobs," I said. "I wasn't sleeping." Richard slammed his hand on the table. "Excuses. I paid for that apartment. I paid for your books. You embarrassed me. I tried." "Trying doesn't matter when you fail," he said. "Men don't fail." Linda sat on the couch staring at her hands. I looked at her. "Mom, say something." She didn't. Emily stood near the stairs, watching me like she wanted to disappear. "I just need a little time," I said. "I can get back on my feet." "With what?" Mark asked. "Your part-time pizza job?" "At least I'm working," I snapped. Sarah walked in then. She didn't look at me. She went straight to Mark. "Can we go?" she asked him. I stared at her. "Go where?" She finally looked at me. "Mark's place." My chest went tight. "Since when?" She sighed. "Since I got tired of believing in something that wasn't real." Mark smiled. "Guess you should have finished college, bro." "Sarah," I said, "you said you'd stay." "I said I'd stay if you tried," she replied. "I did try." "No," she said, "you failed." Richard nodded. "She's right." I felt like the room was shrinking. "You're all turning on me?" "We're moving on," Mark said. "You should too." Linda stood up. "Maybe it's best if you find somewhere else for a while." My hands started shaking. "You're kicking me out?" "Not kicking," Richard said. "Releasing you." I laughed, but it sounded broken. "I don't even have a car payment paid off yet." "That's your problem," he said. Emily whispered, "I'm sorry." I grabbed my backpack from my room. I shoved clothes inside. My hands were numb. Sarah was still by the door. "I hope you figure things out," she said. I looked at Mark. "Enjoy my life." He shrugged. "You gave it up." I walked out. The night air felt heavier than the house ever did. I drove until my gas light turned on. I parked behind a closed grocery store and leaned my head against the steering wheel. My phone buzzed. "Daniel, where are you?" "Me car." "Daniel, which car?" "Me mine." "Daniel, I'm coming." I didn't respond. 20 minutes later he knocked on the window. "Dude." I opened the door. "I got kicked out." He stared at me. "Seriously?" "My girlfriend left me for my brother." He blinked. "What?" "My parents agreed." He opened the passenger door. "Move your junk." I climbed out and sat on the curb. He handed me a bottle of water. "Drink." I drank. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Daniel said, "You can crash on my couch." "I don't want to be a burden." "You're already a mess. Burdens come later." I laughed weakly. "Thanks." He leaned against the car. "What happened?" I told him everything. He listened. When I finished he said, "They're wrong. They're my family. Doesn't mean they're right." I stared at the dark street. "I don't have anyone." "You have me," he said. I looked at my backpack. "This is everything I own." He nodded. "Then that's enough to start." My phone buzzed again. A message from Sarah. "Sarah, I'm sorry. I hope you understand someday." I typed, "Goodbye." I blocked her. I looked at Daniel. "I think this is the lowest point of my life." He shook his head. "No. This is the moment it changes." I leaned my head back against the car and closed my eyes. The night was quiet. My heart wasn't. And that was the moment I knew I was completely alone. Hunger is loud when everything else goes quiet. "Jason, eat," Daniel said, sliding half a sandwich toward me in his car. "I'm not hungry," I lied. "You're shaking." "I'm cold. It's 70 degrees. I took the sandwich. My phone buzzed. Mom's voicemail. I pressed play. "Jason, your father and I discussed things. We think it's best if you handle your own responsibilities. You need to learn." I stared at the screen. "I asked for food money." Daniel sighed. "Call again." I did. No answer. I called Dad. No answer. I texted Mom. See. No reply. I drove to their house that night and knocked. Richard's voice came through the door. "We're busy. I just need to talk." We already did. The door stayed closed. I sat on the steps for 20 minutes. Nobody came out. Next morning I went to the bank. Your account is overdrawn, the teller said. I know. You owe $312. I know. Outside my phone buzzed. Sarah. Sarah, please stop contacting me. I just need closure. Sarah, Mark is with me. This isn't fair to him. He's my brother. Sarah, he supports me. I did too. Sarah, you failed. I'm trying. Sarah, stop. Then she blocked me. I stood there staring at the screen. That night Daniel showed me something on his phone. Look. It was a post from Mark. Mark. Some people don't deserve family when they can't even support themselves. Comments laughed. Someone tagged me. I texted Mark. Why are you doing this? Mark, truth hurts. You took everything from me. Mark, you lost it. I blocked him. 2 days later I collapsed on a sidewalk from not eating. Daniel lifted me. This is stupid. I don't want your money. I'm not offering money. He drove me to a small shop with faded blue paint. An old man stepped out. What's this? Daniel said, this is Jason. The man nodded. I'm Thompson. Nice to meet you. You can fix engines? I can learn. He studied my face. Come inside. Inside smelled like oil and coffee. You hungry? Mr. Thompson asked. Yes. He handed me a sandwich and coffee. I ate like I'd never eaten before. You want a job? He said. Yes. Show up tomorrow. Thank you. That night I slept on Daniel's couch and cried into my shirt. The next morning I worked 10 hours scrubbing grease. My hands bled. Mr. Thompson said, good work. Daniel said, proud of you. That evening my phone rang. Mom. Jason, your father is upset about the posts. Mark is under stress. I'm starving. Silence. We raised you to be strong. I'm drowning. You'll learn. I hung up. 2 weeks passed. I worked every day. I ate beans and bread. Daniel paid my phone bill. One night he said, you're not broken. I feel like I am. You're just alone. I nodded. Another message appeared from Sarah. Sarah, I heard you're working at a shop. Yes. Sarah, that's sad. So is betrayal. Sarah, you'll never forgive me. I already did. Sarah, liar. I blocked her again. Mr. Thompson noticed my shaking hands. Why you working so hard? I'm scared to stop. He nodded. Me too once. Weeks passed. I paid my first bill. Then another. Then I bought my own groceries. Daniel said, look at you. I said, I'm still scared. That's normal. One evening I drove past my parents' house. Lights were on. Laughter inside. I didn't stop. I sat in my car and whispered, I won't beg again. My phone buzzed. Dad. I watched it ring. I didn't answer. I drove away. I met Rachel at 2 in the morning when my delivery app sent me to a diner that never closed. Coffee? Rachel asked from behind the counter. Please. You look exhausted. I am. Sit. I sat. Rachel poured coffee and said, name? Jason. Rachel. I nodded. Nice to meet you. Rachel studied me. You delivering food all night? Yes. Why? Because bills don't care if I'm tired. Rachel smiled. That's the most honest answer I've heard today. I laughed softly. What's yours? Same reason, Rachel said. Except mine don't care if I'm sad. I looked at Rachel. Are you sad? Sometimes. Me too. Rachel leaned on the counter. Why? Because my family threw me away. Rachel didn't flinch. That hurts. Yes. Rachel refilled my cup. You still standing? Barely. That still counts. I watched steam rise. I lost everything. Rachel said, I lost everything once too. What happened? Rachel shrugged. Life. Helpful. Rachel smiled. You want pancakes? I can't afford pancakes. They're free tonight. Why? Because someone needs them. I ate. When I finished, Rachel said, you look lighter. I feel heavier. Rachel laughed. That means the weight is real. My phone buzzed. A message from Victor Hale. Victor, Jason ready to invest? I showed Rachel. This guy promised a business opportunity. Rachel frowned. Who? Victor Hale. Rachel's smile faded. Be careful. He says I can double my savings. Rachel shook her head. That's not how real life works. He has contracts. So do sharks. I hesitated. I need money. Rachel said quietly, needing money makes people dangerous to themselves. I met Victor later that day. Victor smiled. Jason, future partner. Nice office. Victor leaned back. Sign here. I read the paper. This says I lose everything if I pull out. Victor's smile thinned. Standard. That's not fair. Neither is being poor. I signed. 3 days later my account was empty. I called Victor. You promised. Victor laughed. You invested. Investment risks. You lied. You were desperate. I went back to the diner that night. Rachel saw my face. What happened? I lost everything again. Rachel closed the register. Sit. I sat. Rachel said, tell me. I told Rachel. Rachel listened. When I finished, Rachel said, you got played. I'm stupid. No. You're hopeful. Same thing. Rachel shook her head. Hope built this world. Greed ruined it. I stared at my hands. I don't know how to keep going. Rachel poured coffee. By protecting your heart better. How? Rachel tapped the counter. You stop trusting people who smell like lies. Everyone smells like lies. Not everyone. Rachel looked at me. You don't. I swallowed. That's the problem. Rachel smiled sadly. Then you build armor. What kind? Emotional. I nodded slowly. Rachel said, come here every night. Why? Because this place is safe. I don't deserve safe. Everyone deserves safe. I whispered, thank you. Rachel said, you're welcome, Jason. I walked out later with a full stomach and empty pockets. Outside, Daniel called. How was the shift? I met someone. Romantic. No. Human. Daniel laughed. That's better. I said, the world is cruel. Daniel said, yes. But not everyone. Exactly. That night I lay on Daniel's couch and stared at the ceiling. I said to myself, no more trusting words. I clenched my fist. No more believing promises. I closed my eyes. No more breaking. I decided then that if the world was going to hurt me, I would learn how to stand inside the pain. And I would never let anyone see me bleed again. The next evening I went back to the diner. Rachel said, you're early. I said, I didn't want to be alone. Rachel poured coffee. That's honest. I said, I'm scared. Rachel said, of what? I said, of becoming hard. Rachel answered, hard keeps you alive. I said, I don't want to lose who I am. Rachel replied, you won't if you choose what you protect. I asked, what should I protect? Rachel said, your future. I nodded. I will. Rachel smiled. Good. I stood to leave. Rachel said, see you tomorrow? I answered, yes. I walked into the night feeling steadier, quieter, ready to survive whatever came next, even if the world kept trying to tear everything away from me forever. I whispered, this is the beginning. I drove away slowly, heart guarded, mind focused, soul tired but alive, still breathing, still moving, still choosing myself. Tomorrow would hurt, but I would not quit. I worked every day. Jason, go home, Mr. Thompson said. I'm fine. You've been here 14 hours. I can do more. He shook his head. That's not strength. It's survival. Daniel met me outside the shop that night. You're killing yourself. I'm building something. On no sleep? Yes. We sat in his car eating fries. Daniel said, I have an idea. What? A logistics app. Small. Local deliveries. Faster routes. Less cost. I stared. We don't have money. We have brains. I smiled. That's new. We worked nights after my shifts. Daniel said, look at this code. I don't understand it. You will. I didn't, but I pretended. One night at the diner, Rachel sat with me. You look worse. That's progress. Rachel slid me coffee. What are you working on? An app. Serious? Yes. Rachel leaned closer. How much do you need? I can't ask you that. Rachel said, I'm asking you. I hesitated. Everything. Rachel nodded. I'll invest. I froze. You don't even know me. Rachel smiled. I know enough. Rachel, that's your savings. Rachel said, money can return. Potential can disappear. I swallowed. Thank you. Don't thank me, Rachel said. Make it worth it. Mr. Thompson started teaching me about engines and contracts. People will cheat you, Mr. Thompson said. I know. Not enough. He showed me papers. Read everything. I do now. He nodded. Good. Weeks passed. My parents never called. My phone stayed quiet. Daniel said, "Does that hurt?" "Yes." "Then stop checking." I stopped. One evening Sarah appeared at the shop. "Jason." I looked up. "Why are you here?" Sarah stepped closer. "I need help." "With what?" "Money." I laughed. "That's new." Sarah crossed her arms. "I'm struggling." "So was I." Sarah said, "You didn't have to be cruel." "Neither did you." She lowered her voice. "Mark ruined things. That's your problem." Sarah's eyes softened. "I loved you." Past tense. She whispered, "Please?" I shook my head. "No." She stared. "You changed." I survived. Sarah walked away. Daniel clapped. "That was beautiful." I smiled. "I feel strong." We launched the app small. 2 clients. Then 10. Then 40. Rachel watched the numbers. "It's working." Daniel grinned. "It's alive." Mr. Thompson said, "Protect it." "I will." Late nights turned into early mornings. One night Daniel said, "Do you ever miss them?" "Yes." "Would you go back?" "No." "Why?" "They chose their world." Daniel nodded. "So did you." Rachel met me after work. "You're different." "Good different." "Harder." "Brighter." "I'm tired." Rachel smiled. "You're building." My phone buzzed. "Mom." I stared. I didn't answer. Daniel noticed. "Who was it?" "Family." "You okay?" "Yes." I meant it. Another month passed. I paid all my debts. Daniel hugged me. "You did it." I whispered, "We did." Rachel raised a coffee cup. "To survival." I clinked mine. "To never begging again." Mr. Thompson smiled from the corner. "That's a promise." I nodded. "It is." That night I lay awake thinking about the boy who left home with a backpack. I wasn't him anymore. I learned how to survive. I learned how to say no. I learned how to keep going when nobody watched. I learned that power is quiet. I learned that walking away feels better than being chosen. I whispered to myself, "This is my life now." And I finally believed it. I woke to Daniel shouting my name. "Jason, you need to see this." "What happened?" "Your brother." I sat up. "Mark?" Daniel showed me the article. Mark Carter accused of stealing funds from Carter Manufacturing. I laughed once. "He finally did it." Daniel said, "Your parents are being questioned." My phone rang immediately. "Mom." I stared at it. Daniel said, "Answer?" "No," it rang again. "Dad." I turned the phone face down. Daniel nodded. "Good." At the office Rachel rushed in. "Jason, downloads doubled overnight." "Seriously?" "Yes." 40 new clients. Daniel grinned. "We're climbing." Rachel squeezed my arm. "You did this." "No," I said. "We did." Another call. "Mom." I didn't answer. Daniel said, "That's power." Later Sarah showed up outside the shop. "Jason." "What?" "Mark is done." "That's not my problem." "He took money." "I know." "He lied to me." "I know." Sarah's voice cracked. "I left him." "Good." Sarah stepped closer. "Can we talk?" "No," she grabbed my sleeve. "I need help." "With what?" "Everything." I pulled my arm away. "I'm not your rescue." "You're cold." "I'm alive." Sarah whispered, "You loved me." "I did." "Then why?" "Because you chose him." Sarah cried. "I made a mistake." "So did I." "I trusted you." She left shaking. Daniel said quietly, "That was heavy." "I'm steady." That night the phone rang again. "Dad." I didn't answer. Rachel sat beside me. "How does that feel?" "Like justice." The next day Victor Hale's number flashed. "Jason, we should talk." "About what?" "You owe me." "You robbed me." Victor laughed. "Business." "Stay away." "Or what?" "Or I go public." Victor's voice hardened. "You're nothing without me." I said, "Watch me." I hung up. Daniel said, "That was dangerous." "I'm done being scared." The app exploded online. Rachel said, 3 states now. "More coming," Daniel added. I checked my phone. 50 emails. Mom called again. I blocked the number. Rachel said, "No more ghosts." I nodded. Another week passed. Mark was arrested. The news showed my parents crying. Daniel muted the TV. "You okay?" "Yes." Rachel asked, "Any regrets?" "None." Another message from Victor. Threats. I saved everything. Daniel said, we'll bury him. Legally. Always. That night I stood alone outside the shop. I whispered, the fall has begun. The wind felt lighter. My phone stayed silent. I smiled for the first time in years. The betrayer was finally falling. And I wasn't looking back. Daniel handed me coffee. You earned that smile. It feels strange. Because peace is new. Rachel said, peace can be loud at first. I said, everything is changing. Daniel replied, so are you. My phone buzzed from an unknown number. Victor, last warning. I typed, stay away. Victor, you'll regret this. I showed Daniel. Daniel said, good. Now he's scared. Rachel nodded. Success terrifies people like Victor. I laughed. I used to be terrified of everything. Daniel said, not anymore. We worked late. Calls came in. Clients signed. Numbers climbed. Rachel said, look at this graph. I see it. This is real. So are we. Another unknown call. I answered. Stop calling. Victor said, you think you won? I think you lost. You need me. I outgrew you. Silence. He hung up. Daniel said, proud of you. I said, I'm proud of us. A message from Emily arrived. Emily, are you okay? I paused. Me, yes. Emily, I'm glad. Me, take care. Emily, you too. I closed the chat. Rachel asked, hard? Necessary. We locked up the office. Outside the city glowed. Daniel said, what now? Forward. Rachel smiled. Always. The next morning headlines screamed. Mark pleaded guilty. Dad resigned. Mom avoided cameras. Daniel said, karma is patient. And exact. Rachel said, any more calls? None. The silence felt earned. Daniel laughed. Breakfast on me. Deal. Over eggs, Rachel said, you look lighter. I finally am. Daniel raised a toast. To the fall of liars. I raised mine. To building truth. Rachel added, to tomorrow. Phones buzzed together. New contracts. New hope. I leaned back. This is the life. Daniel said, the life you made. Rachel said, the life you deserve. I nodded. I won't look back. They smiled. Good. We left the diner into the sun. I breathed deep. The betrayer kept falling. I kept rising. Daniel knocked on my apartment door. Jason, you're up early. I can't sleep, I said. You got that weird look, Daniel said. What's happening? We sold it, I whispered. Daniel froze. Wait. Sold what? Our app. Sold for? Millions, I said. Daniel laughed and grabbed my shoulders. Millions? You're kidding. I wish. I smiled weakly. I'm not kidding. Daniel's eyes widened. Jason, you actually did it? I can't believe it either, I admitted. It's overwhelming. Come on, let's celebrate, Daniel said, pulling me into a hug. I hugged back, stiff at first, then finally relaxed. Feels strange. You earned it, Daniel said. All those nights, all the work. I stepped back. It's just so much money. Rachel called then. Jason, did you see? See what? The news? Everyone's talking about the sale. I sat down on the couch. I haven't checked social media yet. Rachel laughed. It's everywhere. People are congratulating you. Investors are impressed. And Daniel is still hugging you like a fool. I can't believe this is real, I said quietly. Believe it, Jason, Rachel said. I want to be your partner. Legally. I blinked. You, really? Yes. You built something amazing. We should do it together. I swallowed. That feels right. I thought you'd say that. Rachel's voice was warm. We'll do this the right way. I nodded. I like that. Daniel leaned against the table. Finally, people who actually get you. Yeah, I said, staring out the window. People who get me and appreciate it. I pulled out my phone. Hundreds of notifications. Likes, shares, comments. My family. Mom had shared a post. Dad liked it. Mark commented. Emily sent a heart emoji. I stared at the screen. They know. Daniel peeked. About time they noticed. I shook my head. I can't call them. Not yet. Daniel shrugged. You don't have to. They ignored you for years. Let them watch from a distance. I scrolled through comments. Sarah blocked me years ago. She's probably seeing this too. She's irrelevant now, Daniel said firmly. This is your moment. I closed the phone. You're right. Rachel came over and placed her hand on mine. Are you okay? I nodded slowly. I think so. I feel like I've been holding my breath forever. Rachel smiled softly. Now you can finally exhale. I laughed quietly. Feels strange to have money. Feels stranger to be proud of myself. Daniel grinned. That's the look of victory, my friend. I didn't think I'd ever see this day, I admitted. I thought I'd always be the one left behind. Not anymore, Rachel said. You made it. I leaned back on the couch, closing my eyes. I cry alone for a second? Do it, Daniel said. I'll even hand you tissues. I laughed despite myself and let the tears fall. It's weird. I feel everything at once. Relief, happiness, disbelief. Rachel knelt beside me. You deserve this, Jason. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I wiped my eyes. Thank you, both of you. Daniel nudged me. We're proud, man. I mean it. I smiled at him, then at Rachel. I can't believe I finally won. Rachel touched my arm. You did. And it's only the beginning. I laughed softly. Only the beginning? Feels like the end of something else. What? Daniel asked. Being small. Being ignored. Being overlooked. Daniel nodded. Yeah, that ended. I stood up and looked around the apartment. All those nights working, stressing, barely eating, it was worth it. Rachel said, every moment. I nodded slowly. I guess this is the moment I finally feel alive. Daniel raised an imaginary glass. To Jason Carter. To Jason Carter, I repeated. And to not letting anyone control my life again. Rachel smiled. To the start of the real journey. I looked at both of them and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope, pride, strength. Outside, my phone buzzed again. Another notification. I ignored it. Daniel laughed. Family catching up? I nodded. Let them watch. They'll have to see me like this. Rachel grinned. And you'll have us. I exhaled slowly. Finally, I won. And for the first time in years, I felt unshakable. My phone buzzed. Mom. I stared. I didn't answer. Another buzz. Dad. I ignored it. Daniel glanced over. They finally noticed. I don't care, I said, but my hands shook. Then a knock. I opened the door. Mom and Dad stood there. Linda cried instantly. Jason, she said, voice breaking. I'm sorry. I blinked. For what? For everything, she said. We were wrong. Richard stepped forward. I'm proud of you, son. You've done amazing things. I stared at him. No words. No tears. Nothing. Mark appeared from behind them. Jason. I messed up. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. Linda sobbed. I missed so much. You deserved better. I whispered, I know. Richard said, we just want to celebrate your success. I laughed quietly. You want me back because of money? Linda shook her head. No. Because we love you. I shook my head. Love doesn't show up after you abandon me. Mark's face fell. I thought I could make up for it. I crossed my arms. You can't undo years of ignoring me. Mom wiped her eyes. Please, Jason. Just talk to us. I shook my head. I don't have anything to say. Daniel put a hand on my shoulder. Let them talk. I don't want to hear it, I said. Mark looked down. I'll never forget what I did. I didn't reply. Linda's tears fell faster. We were scared. We didn't know how to help you. We failed you. I whispered, you did fail me. Richard's voice softened. I watched from afar, proud of your growth. I laughed bitterly. Pride? You didn't even call me when I was starving. Mom's voice cracked. I know. And I regret it every day. I survived, I said quietly. I didn't need you then. And I don't need you now. Mark's lips quivered. Jason, please. I shook my head. No more. Linda hugged herself. We just want our son back. You never lost me, I said. I left you. You lost me. Richard's hands clenched. We were afraid we'd lose you for good. You already did, I said. Mom whispered, I just want to see you happy. I looked at Daniel. He nodded slightly. You're strong enough for this. I sighed. I'm happy, Mom. Without depending on you. Mark hung his head. I really am sorry. I said no, I said. Emily's name flashed on my phone. She texted, I always believed in you. No matter what. I stared at it. Smiled slightly. My chest tightened. I typed back, thank you. Her reply came instantly, you earned everything. I showed Daniel. He grinned. That's real support. Better than fake apologies, I said. Mom sniffled. Jason, you have to forgive us someday. I shrugged. Forgiveness isn't what I feel. Indifference is safer. Richard said, indifference? After all this? Yes. After years of silence, I feel nothing. Mark whispered, I hope one day. You hope too late, I said. Linda's shoulders slumped. We wanted to see you proud. I looked away. I am proud. Without you. Mom's voice trembled. We love you, Jason. Please remember that. I do, I said. I remember every absence. Every silent night. Every word you didn't say. Richard finally nodded. Then we'll leave you in peace. I'd appreciate that, I said quietly. They turned and left slowly. Mark lingered for a moment, then walked away. I closed the door and leaned against it. Daniel said softly, you're unshakable. I had to be, I whispered. Emily texted again, I knew you'd rise. I read it, smiled faintly and tucked the phone into my pocket. Daniel said, let's keep building. I will, I said. For us, for me. I walked to the window looking out at the city lights. Everything they abandoned me for. I earned it alone, I whispered. Daniel said quietly, and you'll never be alone again. No, I said. Because I built my life with people who actually care. Emily's message glowed in my pocket again. I whispered, finally. I know who matters. And I felt nothing for the ones who came back too late. The invitation came by mail. Jason, Daniel said, handing it to me. Your family wants to celebrate your success. I crumpled it. I don't want this. Daniel shrugged. They're insisting. You in or out? I'm out, I said. Rachel looked up. You can skip it. Or go and set boundaries. I laughed bitterly. Boundaries? They didn't have any when I needed them. The night came anyway. I entered the hall. Richard and Linda were there, smiling nervously. Jason. Mom said, rushing toward me. I stepped back. Linda. Hello. Richard extended a hand. Proud of you, son. I shook it briefly. Thanks. Mark lingered near the drinks. I didn't look at him. Sarah appeared from behind, leaning against the doorway. Jason, she said, soft voice. Hi. I froze. You weren't invited. I wanted to see you, she said. I don't want to see you, I said, keeping my voice calm. Sarah frowned. It's awkward, I know, but... I cut her off. I said no. Stay away. Daniel nudged me. Stay calm. Rachel whispered, I've got your back. The dinner began. I sat stiffly at the head, careful not to make eye contact with anyone unnecessary. Mark muttered something under his breath. I ignored it. Mom tried conversation. Jason, tell us about your app. I answered briefly. It's growing. Richard beamed. Amazing. Truly amazing. Then Sarah leaned over. I wanted to apologize again. I said, apologies aren't necessary. Distance is. Mark scoffed. Distance won't fix everything. What do you mean? I asked. Mark's smirk faltered. Nothing. Forget it. I narrowed my eyes. Explain. Richard looked uneasy. Mark, please? I stole from the company, Mark admitted. I took money. I didn't know how to tell you. I felt nothing. Finally, Linda gasped. Mark, how could you? Richard's face turned pale. Mark, how much? Enough to ruin us if it came out, Mark said quietly. Mom collapsed into a chair, crying. Jason, I never imagined. Richard clutched his chest. I can't. He fell forward. I jumped up. Dad. Daniel and Rachel rushed over. Daniel grabbed Richard's shoulders. He's having a heart attack. I yelled, someone call 911. Mark stood frozen. I didn't mean. Step back, I said, voice sharp. You caused this. Linda sobbed. Jason, help him. I nodded. I'm calling. I dialed quickly. Ambulance. My father. Heart attack. At the celebration hall. Sarah stepped close. Jason. I snapped, stay back. Rachel guided me to the side. Breathe. You're fine. You're in control. Minutes passed. Richard was taken away by paramedics. I followed at the door. Mom clung to me, shaking. I'm so sorry, Jason, she said. I heard you the first time, I said quietly. Mark muttered again. I'll fix things. You'll fix nothing, I said. Not for me. Not now. Sarah lingered. Jason. I turned sharply. Go home. You weren't invited. You have no place here. She swallowed and nodded, retreating. Rachel put her hand on my shoulder. You okay? I will be, I said. I'm fine. This proves something. Daniel asked, what? That I can stay calm. That I control myself, not them. We watched the ambulance drive away. Sirens faded. Mom whispered, Jason. I don't know what to do. I said firmly, then do nothing. Let me live my life. Mark's face fell. Jason. You should have thought about me before this dinner, I said. Linda sobbed quietly, leaning against the wall. I turned to Rachel and Daniel. Let's go. I'm done. Outside, the night air felt clean. I exhaled slowly, letting it all go. Sarah appeared at the end of the driveway. Jason. I shook my head. Goodbye, Sarah. I hope you learn your lesson. She didn't respond. She left. I felt something strange, a weight lifted. Daniel said, you handled that perfectly. I handled it because it's my life, not theirs, I said. Rachel smiled. You're finally free. I nodded. Yes, finally free. The family dinner ended in chaos, but I walked away calm, resolute, and untouched by their past manipulations. For the first time, I felt untouchable. The phone rang early. Jason, it's Mr. Thompson's wife, Daniel said. He passed. I froze. No. I'm sorry, Daniel whispered. I didn't know what to say. I grabbed my coat and ran to the hospital. Rachel followed silently. I stood outside the room. Daniel whispered, he's gone. I nodded numbly. I know. I sat in the empty waiting area. Silence pressed on me. Then I felt it in my pocket, a folded letter. Mr. Thompson's handwriting. I opened it with trembling hands. Jason, I read aloud softly, you deserved love even when no one gave it. You were never alone, even in silence. You are worthy and your heart is enough. I sank into the chair. Tears came unbidden. I hadn't cried like this in years. Daniel crouched beside me. Go ahead. Let it out. I sobbed. He always believed in me. Rachel sat next to me. He did. He saw you when nobody else did. I clutched the letter to my chest. I failed to see it in myself. You didn't fail, Daniel said. He left it for a reason. I whispered, a reason to forgive myself. Rachel nodded. Exactly. I closed my eyes. I hated myself for so long, for every weakness, every doubt. You were human, Daniel said. You did what you could. I pushed everyone away, I admitted, even when they tried to help. You did it for survival, Rachel said gently. It's okay. I think I finally understand, I said. Self-forgiveness, it's mine to give. Daniel smiled softly. And you deserve it. I laughed through tears. It feels strange. Free. Rachel brushed my shoulder. That's the weight leaving. I unfolded the letter again, reading aloud slowly. Even in silence, you are worthy, your heart is enough. I whispered, enough, enough. Daniel said quietly, you've carried so much. Let it go. I nodded. I will. I imagined Mr. Thompson smiling at me, proud. Jason, I whispered, thank you. Rachel placed a hand over mine. He loved you like a father should. And now you can carry that love forward. I smiled weakly through tears. I think I can. Daniel stood. Time to leave the hospital. Life's waiting. I clutched the letter one last time. One more look. I folded it carefully and tucked it back into my pocket. Rachel and Daniel flanked me. We're here, Daniel said. I took a deep breath. I forgive myself, finally. Rachel smiled. That's beautiful. I felt the tightness in my chest ease. The grief was sharp, yes, but lighter somehow. Jason, Daniel said, he wouldn't want you to stop living. I know, I whispered. He gave me everything I needed. Rachel squeezed my hand. Then live it. I nodded. I will. We walked out of the hospital into the crisp air. The city felt different, cleaner, brighter. I felt the letter in my pocket, a constant reminder of his words. You are worthy, I whispered again. Your heart is enough. I stopped for a moment and closed my eyes, feeling peace for the first time in years. Daniel chuckled softly. You look lighter. I am, I said. It's incredible. Rachel nodded. That love, It never leaves you. I smiled, letting the tears fall freely, unashamed. I'll carry it always. The three of us walked in silence for a while, each step lighter than the last. Finally I said, I think I finally understand what he meant. I deserved love. Even when no one gave it. Daniel said quietly, and now you can give it to yourself. I pressed my hand to my chest, feeling the warmth, the acceptance. I forgive myself. I really do. Rachel whispered, and that's everything. I looked at the sky above the city, breathing deep. It's everything. The news hit like a punch. Mark's in prison, Daniel said, reading the headline aloud. I didn't respond at first. I just stared at the screen. Finally? I whispered. Yes, Daniel said softly. Finally. I closed my eyes. Justice? Or just timing? Jason, there's more, Rachel said, sliding another article across the table. Victor Hale. Arrested. Fraud. Embezzlement. I let out a long breath. The world, it finally caught up to them. Daniel nodded. All of them. I felt a strange calm. Years of frustration, betrayal, and anger swelling inside me now seemed balanced. My phone buzzed. Mom. I ignored it. Then Dad. I ignored that too. Hours later, the calls became texts. Emails. Messages from both. Jason, we need you. Please help. The company is failing. Jason, you're our only hope. I scrolled slowly. Mark in prison, Victor arrested. And now my parents desperate. Rachel said softly, they finally realize what they lost. I laughed quietly. They didn't realize anything. They just want a lifeline. Daniel leaned back. What are you thinking? I set the phone down. The biggest choice of my life. Help them, or let them face the consequences. Rachel frowned. You could save them. I shook my head. I could. But at what cost? Daniel said, Jason, it's your decision. Nobody else's. I paced the apartment. I keep thinking, if I help them, it undoes everything I survived. Rachel stepped closer. Or it could show mercy. Compassion. That's not weakness. I clenched my fist. I've survived because I refused to beg. Because I refused to depend on anyone who abandoned me. Daniel said quietly, and you're stronger for it. The text kept coming. Please, Jason. We made mistakes. I know, I whispered. I know every mistake. Mom's last text. We're sorry for everything. Just help us now. I stared at it, chest tight. Memories of hunger, debt, betrayal. Sarah leaving, Mark stealing, Dad's cold words, Mom's silence. Rachel touched my arm. It's okay to feel torn. I'm not torn, I said. I'm resolute. Daniel nodded. Meaning? I won't help them, I said. They need to face the consequences. Not because I hate them, but because I respect myself. Rachel whispered, that's hard. And right. I typed a single reply to Mom, I cannot help. You must fix this yourself. Then to Dad, you face the results. I won't intervene. Daniel and Rachel watched silently. I felt lighter than I had in years. Free from obligation, free from the burden of their mistakes. Jason, Daniel said, this proves your strength. I nodded slowly. It's not revenge. It's justice. Natural consequences. Rachel smiled faintly. And you survived it all with integrity. I chuckled softly. Integrity sounds fancy when it's just refusing to beg. Daniel grinned. It's more than that. It's surviving with honor. I stared at the screen one last time. Mark in prison. Victor arrested. Mom and Dad scrambling. No pity. No intervention. I won't save them, I whispered. Not now. Not ever. Rachel said softly, and you don't need to. You've built a life without them. I know, I said. And it's beautiful. Daniel added, you've earned this freedom. I looked out the window at the city lights. Freedom, yes. And karma, no mercy. Rachel laughed softly. It seems fitting. I smiled faintly. Fitting indeed. All the pain, all the betrayal, it balanced itself out. Daniel nodded. You survived the worst, and you chose wisely. I didn't just survive, I said quietly. I thrived. And I won't compromise that, not for anyone who abandoned me. Rachel touched my shoulder. You're unshakable. I exhaled, letting the tension leave my body. Unshakable, finally. The phone buzzed again. Another text from Mom. We understand? I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Daniel said, you made the choice of your life. I did, I said. And I won't regret it. Not for a second. Outside, the night air was calm. The city lights twinkled. I whispered, "Karma has no mercy, and neither do I. And that's enough." I looked at Rachel and Daniel. "Let's move forward. Our life, without them." Rachel smiled. "Yes. Finally, it's yours." I nodded. "Finally, it's mine." The phone buzzed again. "Jason, please." "Mom." "Dad." Daniel handed it to me. I glanced at the screen. Linda Carter. Richard Carter. Both pleading. I exhaled slowly. "I'll help, but only the medical bills." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "That's it." "That's it," I said firmly. "Nothing else." They faced the consequences themselves. Rachel nodded approvingly. "You're setting boundaries." "That's good." I typed back, "I will cover medical bills. Nothing else." Mom replied almost immediately, "Thank you, Jason. That's all we ask." I felt a flicker of something strange, relief mixed with regret. "Jason," Daniel said, "you're doing the right thing. For yourself." "I know," I whispered. "But it still feels heavy." Rachel touched my shoulder. "It's heavy because you care even after everything. That's not weakness. It's humanity." I nodded. "I want to be humane, but I refuse to be a doormat." Later that day I drove to the hospital. Mom and Dad were there, worried, fragile. "Jason," Linda said softly, tears in her eyes. I stepped forward. "I told you only medical bills. Nothing else." Richard swallowed. We understand. Thank you." Mom hugged me briefly. "We don't deserve you." I stepped back. "I know. And I'm not here to rescue you from your failures." Mark's absence in prison made the atmosphere surreal. Victor Hale was gone too. Justice had found them all, finally. Mom whispered, I wish we treated you better." "I know," I said. "It doesn't matter anymore." Richard nodded silently. I left quickly. The hospital room felt heavy, weighted with years of absence and betrayal. Daniel was waiting outside. "You okay?" "I will be," I said. "I just need space." Rachel slid into the passenger seat. "You're making the right choice. Yourself first." I started the engine. I'm done chasing people who never deserved me. The car ride was quiet. I stared out the window at the city lights, reflecting on every moment, every betrayal, every heartbreak. Finally I said, "I need to tell Sarah goodbye." Rachel hesitated. "Are you sure?" "I am. Forever." I called her. It rang twice. Then she picked up. "Jason." Her voice sounded nervous. "Sarah, it's over," I said quietly. "What do you mean?" "I mean goodbye. Forever." There was a pause. "Jason." No," I interrupted gently. "No more words. No more chances. You chose your path, I chose mine. I won't be dragged back into the past." Her voice cracked. I'm sorry." "I know," I said. "I forgive you. But I can't keep you in my life. Not after everything." I understand," she whispered. "Goodbye, Sarah." A faint sob. Then silence. I hung up and exhaled slowly. Relief, sorrow, and clarity mingled in my chest. Daniel said quietly, "That must have hurt." I nodded. It did. But it had to be done. I can't live for anyone else anymore. Rachel reached over. "And you won't. You finally chose yourself." "I did," I said firmly. "No compromises. No regrets. No begging. No looking back." We drove home. The apartment felt warmer somehow, quieter. I opened the letter from Mr. Thompson again. "You are worthy. Your heart is enough." I smiled faintly. "Yes, my heart is enough. For me." Daniel said softly, "You've come a long way." "I have," I whispered. "I survived betrayal, heartbreak, and abandonment. And now I thrive on my own terms." Rachel nodded. "And you'll continue to thrive." I looked out at the night skyline. This is mine. My life. My choices. My freedom. The calls from Mom and Dad kept coming, but I ignored them. The texts, the emails, the pleas, all irrelevant now. "I won't return," I said quietly. "Not home. Not to the past. Not to people who abandoned me." Rachel squeezed my hand. "You're strong enough to live for yourself." "I know," I said. "And I finally understand what it means to be free." Daniel smiled. "You've earned this." I exhaled deeply, feeling the weight of years lift. "I have. And I won't trade it for anyone." The city lights shimmered below. The night was calm, inviting. I whispered, "I chose myself. And that's enough. That's everything." Rachel smiled. It's the first step toward everything you've ever wanted. I nodded. Everything starts here. With me. Alone but alive. Finally alive. The apartment door closed softly behind us. I leaned against it, chest rising and falling with calm, steady breaths. For the first time in years I felt untouchable. Complete. Oh. No guilt. No pleading. No chains. I chose me. And nothing else mattered. The city skyline glimmered through the office windows. Jason Carter? A familiar voice said softly. I turned. Emily Thompson stood there, smiling gently. Emily, I said, voice catching slightly. It's been years. I know, she said. I wanted to see you. To check on you. I gestured to the chair. Sit. It's been a long time. She did, carefully, as if stepping back into a memory. You look different, she said. Calmer. Stronger. I am, I admitted. I finally feel like myself. Emily nodded. I always knew you would. Even when no one else did. I smiled faintly. Funny how some people believed when others walked away. She laughed softly. I never walked away, Jason. Even if you didn't know it. I know now, I said. I've had time to understand everything. I don't carry that boy anymore. Emily looked at me, searching my eyes. You're different. At peace? I leaned back. Yes, I'm free. Free from the past, free from guilt, free from people who never deserved my care. She smiled warmly. I'm proud of you. You survived everything. You became someone incredible. I had help, I said. Daniel Moore. Rachel Bennett. And you, in a way, even when you didn't know it. Emily tilted her head. I'm glad. Truly. I paused. Do you remember the letter? Her eyes widened. Mr. Thompson's letter? I nodded. It changed me. It gave me permission to love myself, to forgive myself. Emily's expression softened. I'm glad. You deserve that, Jason. Always. I leaned forward. I finally realized I don't need to chase anyone who abandoned me. I don't need to beg for love or approval. You don't, Emily said quietly. And it suits you. You're whole. I let out a slow breath. Years ago I was broken. Starving for attention, love, approval. Every day a fight to survive. Emily reached out. But you made it. And now, you've built a life that's yours. Yes, I said. And I don't hate anyone anymore. Not my parents. Not Sarah. Not Mark. Not Victor Hale. Karma handled them. I handled me. She nodded. That's beautiful, Jason. Truly. I smiled, a light laugh escaping. Funny, isn't it? I spent so many years angry. Bitter. Waiting for the world to notice me. Waiting for them to regret. And now, none of that matters. I just live. Emily leaned back, eyes thoughtful. You're free. And I'm happy for you. I am, I said. I've worked hard, built something meaningful, and I finally feel complete. I no longer need their validation. I am enough. She smiled, reaching out to touch my hand. You always were. You just needed to see it yourself. I know, I said. And I finally do. No bitterness. No regrets. Only peace. We sat in silence for a moment, the city lights flickering like tiny stars around us. Jason, Emily said softly, are you happy? I looked at her and then at the skyline. Yes, happier than I've ever been. I'm calm. I'm strong. I'm alive. Her eyes glistened. That's all I wanted for you. I chuckled softly. Funny how some people care even when I didn't know it. Even when I was too blind to see. Emily laughed lightly. You weren't blind. You just had to walk your path first. I did, I said. And I walked it alone when I needed to. I walked it with Daniel and Rachel by my side. And now, I walk it as the man I became. Emily smiled softly. The boy you were, is gone. And the man you are, is remarkable. I nodded, feeling the weight of decades lift. Yes, the broken boy no longer exists. I am free of him, free of pain, free of the past. I finally chose me, and nothing else matters. She reached over and squeezed my hand. I'm proud of the man you became. I felt a warmth in my chest. Thank you, Emily. That means more than you know. Truly. She nodded, smiling, and stood. I should go. I just wanted to see you. To know you're okay. I'm more than okay, I said. I'm alive. I'm free. I'm me. Emily nodded and hugged me briefly. Goodbye, Jason. Always take care of yourself. I will, I said. Goodbye, Emily. And thank you for believing in me. She left and I sat back in my chair, eyes on the skyline. The night was quiet, the city alive with possibilities. I smiled softly, exhaling. I am calm. I am free. I am strong. I am the man I became. No hate. No regrets. Only clarity. The office felt warm, alive, and my heart felt light. I leaned back, letting the quiet settle around me. For the first time in decades, I felt whole. Complete. Untouchable. I was no longer the broken boy. I was Jason Carter. And my life was mine.